All right, so for this video, I thought I'd do something completely different. I had a very deep and meaningful conversation with somebody who is heavily involved in the world of AI, technology, photography, image creation, and making life more streamlined by performing tasks a lot quicker. I sat down and had a chat with ChatGPT about the future of photography and AI. All right, so ChatGPT, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation about the future of photography and AI. I've got a number of questions that I want to put to you, maybe 5 or 6. So when you're ready, we'll crack on.
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right, so the first question is, it's quite a broad one here. What do you see for the future of photography in a world where AI is becoming more and more integrated?
Well, the future definitely looks like a fascinating mix. As AI gets more integrated, I think we'll see photography becoming more accessible and maybe even a bit more experimental. On the one hand, it's going to streamline a lot of those tedious tasks, so photographers can focus more on the creative side. On the other hand, it's going to spark a lot of conversations about what's real, what's authentic, and where human creativity really shines. So in short, I see a future that's both more convenient and more thought-provoking.
I noticed there that when you said about the future of photography and AI, that you did still mention about the human side of things. So you do believe that AI is not going to replace humans, is that correct?
Absolutely, that's spot on. I definitely think AI is more of a creative sidekick than a replacement. It's going to handle the heavy lifting and the repetitive tasks, but the human element, the storytelling, the emotion, the unique perspective, that's always going to be irreplaceable. So, yeah, think of it as AI amplifying our creativity rather than taking it over.
All right, okay. So the next question then, what would you say to a photographer who is pushing back against AI? They don't agree with it and they think that it's going too far and taking away an individual's creativity.
I'd say to them, look, I get it. And it's totally fine to feel that way. The key point is that AI is just a tool, like a new kind of camera lens or a fancy editing brush. You can use it as much or as little as you want. If someone feels it's not for them, that's completely valid. They can keep crafting their images in the traditional way and that uniqueness will still shine through. It's not about replacing anyone's creativity, just giving folks another option.
All right, okay, interesting. Now, I kind of think maybe carrying on from that makes me think of camera clubs. Camera clubs today worldwide, I think it's pretty fair to say that there is pushback against AI because of having competitions and what have you. So what do you think about the fact that camera clubs are pushing back against AI?
Yeah, it's a really good point and pretty understandable too. I think a lot of camera clubs are rooted in that traditional love of pure photography, so it's natural for them to want to preserve that. My take is that it's really about setting clear categories and expectations. If a club wants to have a no AI category to celebrate traditional skills, that's totally fair. On the other hand, they could also have an AI assisted category and let people explore that too. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So I'd say it's all about giving people the space to choose the kind of creativity they want to celebrate.
Okay, so all right, next question. Recently, Adobe have partnered up with Google to introduce Nano Banana into Photoshop, and also Black Forest Labs have partnered up with them to introduce Flux into Photoshop. Also Topaz as well. What do you think this says about the future of Photoshop and traditional editing in general?
Well, it definitely says that the big players are all in on AI. When you see Adobe teaming up with the likes of Google and other labs to bring tools like Nano Banana and Flux into Photoshop, it's a pretty clear sign that traditional editing is evolving into something more hybrid. Basically, Photoshop is becoming this powerhouse where classic manual skills and cutting-edge AI live side by side. So I'd say it points to a future where traditional editing isn't going away. It's just getting some very smart, very handy new sidekicks. It's all about having more tools in the toolbox.
Oh, hold on a second. You say that traditional editing isn't going away. Surely in a year, 2 years, maximum 5 years, do you not think that AI is going to be so deeply embedded in what we do that really the traditional way that we edit for the masses is going to change? You don't think that the AI, the software is going to be completely AI?
You know, that's a fair push. And I think you're right that in a few years, the landscape is going to shift a lot. We'll probably see AI woven into almost every editing tool by default. So yeah, the way the masses edit will feel a lot more AI driven. But I'd still say that traditional editing skills, the kind where you have full manual control, won't vanish entirely. They'll just become a bit more of a niche or a specialty thing. So in short, I agree, the mainstream editing experience will get pretty AI heavy, but the old school hands-on approach will still be there for those who want it. It's just going to evolve.
Okay, interesting. So a question here that I've got, this came from somebody within the photography creative circle community that I have on school. And they said, at what point does an image stop being a photograph and become something entirely synthetic? And do you think that distinction is still important?
That's a fantastic question, and I think it really goes to the heart of the conversation. Ultimately, the line between a photograph and something entirely synthetic is going to get blurrier, but that distinction is still important, especially in contexts like documentary or journalism, where the expectation is that the image represents reality. On the flip side, in creative or artistic work, that line can be more flexible. It's really about being transparent and letting the viewer know what they're looking at. So yes, that distinction is still important, and keeping it clear helps maintain trust and context.
Going on from what you're saying there then, looking at what's available now with things like the content credentials from Adobe, and also more recently, although I did notice recently it seems to have changed, that when you uploaded an image into Instagram, it would label it as being AI generated, even if you'd only used the remove tool with GenFill to remove something from the image. How do you think with things like that and going forward that we are going to be able to tell the difference between something that is AI generated or a traditional photograph?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit on a really crucial trend there. Tools like Adobe's content credentials and those early attempts by platforms like Instagram to label AI generated content are basically the first steps in what's going to become a much bigger push for transparency. And you're right, sometimes these labels are a bit overzealous right now. Like you said, even a small edit with an AI tool can trigger that label. But over time, I think we're going to see these systems get more refined and a bit smarter about distinguishing between heavy AI generation and just light AI assistance. So going forward, I do think we'll have better tools and standards that help viewers know what they're looking at. It's all part of building trust and making sure everyone understands the difference between what's purely captured and what's creatively enhanced.
Cool. All right. Okay, next question then. Will AI ever develop its own creative taste? And if yes, what does that mean for artistic identity?
That's a really juicy one. So the short answer is AI can mimic styles and patterns that it's trained on, but it doesn't really have its own taste in the way humans do. It's more like it's remixing and recombining what it's learned from us. So while it can generate creative outputs, it's not really developing a personal artistic identity. All that means for us is that human artistic identity is still very much our own. AI can be a fantastic tool or a collaborator, but the unique taste, the personal vision, the things that make art feel human, that's all still on us.
What about the development of how AI is able to suggest certain edits, almost like standing in front of a real human being, showing them their photograph and saying, you know, what would you do here? We're kind of getting that now with AI. So what's your take on that when you do say that you don't really see that AI at the moment has its own artistic impression of things? It can't create its own style, but we're getting it to suggest edits for us.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great point. What we're seeing is AI becoming more of a smart assistant. It can offer suggestions, much like a human mentor might. It can say, hey, here's a way to brighten this area, or maybe you'd like this kind of color grading. But even then, it's really reflecting patterns it's learned from human edits. It's a bit like having a super advanced best practices guide. It can give you options, but it's still you deciding what feels right. So it's not that AI is developing its own artistic taste. It's more like it's curating suggestions based on lots of human input. In the end, the photographer's choice is what gives the final image its personal style.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but this is all very much kind of like current day thoughts by the sounds of it. I mean, who's to say what's going to happen in the very near future?
Absolutely, and that's a fair point. The future could definitely surprise us. AI is evolving fast, and what seems like just a suggestion tool today might get a lot more sophisticated soon. We might see AI that can anticipate trends, or even develop a kind of pseudo-style based on the massive data it's trained on. But even then, I think human creativity is always going to be the heart of it. The AI might get more advanced, but it will still be a tool that we guide. So yet, the near future is always full of surprises, and we'll have to stay tuned and see just how creative these AI psychics become.
All right. Okay. So moving on from that then, what skills separate true artists from people who rely on prompting?
Well, I'd say it really comes down to the deeper understanding and intuition that a true artist develops. It's things like having a strong sense of composition, a personal vision, and the ability to tell a story that's uniquely their own. While someone using prompts might get a technically good result, the artist is the one who brings that emotional depth, that intentional style, and that human touch that makes an image more than just a pretty picture. So in short, the real artists stand out by having that creative intuition and the ability to infuse their work with their own personal identity.
I guess that there is so much that we could talk about, and as time goes on, this will develop and there'll be other conversations to be had as well. But just to kind of wrap this up, let's just imagine that you are now stood on a stage in front of a load of photographers. And let's say all those photographers are serious hobbyists. So they don't do it for any kind of income. They do it because they just love doing it. What would you say to them about the future of AI and photography?
I'd say to them, hey, the future is actually pretty exciting. For you as hobbyists, AI is going to give you more tools to have fun with your photography, to experiment, and to push your creative boundaries without feeling like you have to spend endless hours on the technical side. It's not about replacing the joy of photography. It's about adding a few shortcuts so you can focus even more on the parts you love. And you'll still be the one deciding how to tell your story, how to capture that perfect moment. So embrace the tech, have fun with it, and remember that your creativity is what makes your photography uniquely yours.
All right, so that's for the hobbyists. What about for the serious pros, the people who do photography for an income? They rely on it. They go out, they do the photo shoots, they do the portrait shoots, they photograph the sports, the weddings, and all that kind of stuff. The product photography as well, which we know AI can do incredible representations of product photography with a prompt. What would you say to them? Because I'd imagine it's very different, because surely in the world of the pro photographer, in some of the genres, there are going to be casualties. So what would you say to that audience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different conversation for the pros. What I'd say to them is that AI is definitely going to shake things up, and in some areas, it might feel like a challenge. But the key is to see it as an opportunity rather than a threat. For the pros, it's about figuring out how to integrate AI to streamline your workflow, offer new services, and stay ahead of the curve. Yes, some straightforward product shots might be more easily automated, but there's always going to be a premium on the human touch, on the ability to connect with clients, to deliver a personalized experience, and to capture those unique moments that AI just can't replicate. So I'd say lean into your strengths, use AI to handle the repetitive stuff, and focus on the parts of your craft that really set you apart as a professional. In other words, AI is another tool in your kit, and your creativity and client relationships are what will keep you in demand.
All right, so to wrap it up then, looking at everything that you've said, all the answers that you've given me and the overall kind of view that you have, how would you wrap this up?
Sure, let's bring it all together. In a nutshell, AI are here to stay, and it's going to reshape photography in some pretty exciting ways. For hobbyists, it's going to open up new creative possibilities and make things more fun and accessible. For pros, it's going to be a powerful tool to streamline work and stay competitive, even if it means adapting a bit. The heart of it all is that human creativity and personal connection will always be what sets your photography apart. So embrace the tech where it helps you, keep owning your craft, and just enjoy the journey. The future looks bright and a little more creative than ever.
All right, so there you go. Lots of interesting answers there to the questions that I put to him. Let me know in the comments what you think of those answers. Were they a little bit optimistic? Who knows? Now, I am somebody who fully embraces the use of AI, but then that's my own unique situation. But what about you? Let me know in the comments what you thought of some of those responses and how you feel the future of AI is going to be within photography.
Sometimes it feels like you're creating in silence. Just you, your camera, and the glow of your screen. But something's missing. A connection. A community. But now you've found it. This is the Photography Creative Circle. Inside, you'll find a classroom, live calls, feedback sessions, a member map, meetups, and a thriving forum that never sleeps. And every month brings new workshops, expert talks, and community challenges to keep you learning and inspired. The Photography Creative Circle is a worldwide community, providing a safe space for creatives to connect, share, get feedback, grow, and building friendships. Join us today with a 7-day, no-commitment free trial and start your creative journey.
It'll be great to have you part of the community.